Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Inlumi webinar supported by Oracle on extending your financial consolidation with close and reporting using FCCS Financial Consolidation and Cloud Solution. So first thing, we're going to start with an introduction to myself and Inlumi and Oracle. Then we'll have a little bit of detail just around the Oracle EPM Cloud. Then we'll jump in the main part of the webinar, which is the demonstration, and then at the end we'll have time for a question and answer session. So introduction to Inlumi and Oracle. So myself, my name is Ian Jones. I'm a principal advisor at Inlumi. I'm a qualified accountant and I've got 18 years of experience implementing and working with enterprise performance management, which is part of where FCCS sits, also known as EPM. And I've been working with, started on Hyperion Enterprise, moved to HFM, and I'm now working on FCCS. Alongside me is also Anton Harrison from Oracle, so I'll leave him to introduce himself. Anton?
Yeah, so I'm very happy to support Illumi today, our key partner, especially for the Nordics and the Benelux region. I'm the solution strategy leader for Oracle. I cover Western Europe and Eastern Europe, and I'm responsible for enterprise performance management, which obviously we're going to talk about today, and also enterprise resource planning and some of our new emerging technologies that will be affecting the Office of Finance, such as machine learning, etc. So super to support the guys today. I think you're going to have an enjoyable experience, and that's enough for me. I'll say a few words a little bit later on.
Thanks, Anton. Okay, so about Inlumi. So Inlumi is one of the largest players in the field of EPM in Northern Europe. What do? We do implementations, advisory, and also hosting of EPM software. We work on multiple different product sets. So we have group consolidation reporting, which is what we're going to cover today. We also do financial budgeting, planning, and simulation. We also work on KPI dashboards, analytics, account reconciliation and transaction matching, and we also do specialized tools around disclosure management, country by country reporting for tax and IFRS 16. Inlumi is located in 6 different countries, and we have 150 employees, focused primarily around the Benelux region, the Nordics, and the UK. Okay. So I'll hand over to Anton to cover this section on the around the Oracle EPM Cloud.
Yeah, I just want to spend just literally 2 minutes, 2 minutes on explaining the evolution of Oracle from the world of Hyperion, as many of you will know, to the world of the cloud. It's now one platform, which is very different to the world of Hyperion, which some of you on the call will probably be more familiar with. Obviously, it started a long time ago in the world of microcontrol, and then it went through, obviously, Hyperion and the Oracle acquisition. But I think what is most important for today's session is to actually understand, and this is what Ian will be presenting to you, is the fact we have one platform now. So we've taken all that heritage of Hyperion, all those best practices, and many of you actually, will be familiar with things like Smart View, etc. These are basically bundled into one platform. We are obviously going to concentrate on financial close and consolidation today, but bear in mind also what Ian will take you through is where you would have used to before had to have a separate module for, say, supplemental data management or close management, or let's say financial data quality management. That's all on the same platform now, and that's what we've done within Oracle. I'm not going to say too much about it because I think when Ian shows you the capabilities, it speaks for itself. From an Oracle perspective, and this is what we work with Illumi on, and at the moment I'm actually working with probably around about 40 companies across Western Europe, where we're taking information from their data sources, be it sheets typically, or data straight from HFM, we're integrating into the platform. We're actually consolidating and producing dashboard capabilities. And then through the actual Oracle Cloud service, we're bringing together the abilities to add supplemental data, financial reporting, and it's not just static reporting, it's interactive reporting, also embedded analytics. And also it's a platform for areas such as disclosure management and commentary. And many of you will be aware that there's new regulations already occurring at the moment that we need to meet. So really, this is a platform for yourselves where we take best practice from Oracle in terms of Hyperion. We take the capabilities that Illumi have, for sure, to actually take you on this path to the cloud, and hopefully an enjoyable experience. And certainly from my discussions with clients across Western Europe and Eastern Europe, they actually starting to adopt this very quickly. So that's enough from me, I think, Ian.
Okay. So I think this slide was just covering the fact that FCCS now covers all the functionality that you would expect of a consolidation system.
Yeah, I think one point I would say here, sorry, to jump back in, is this is not just parity of functionality. We've actually, we've taken the Hyperion capabilities and we moved it a lot further. And we listened to a lot of our customers, for sure, and our partners, and certainly Illumi is one of those. So you're not just getting parity of functionality, you're actually getting more functionality now in the cloud from Oracle. But the Illumi guys and the team on the call can take you through that in far better detail than I can. So over to you guys.
So I will jump into the demo. So we're logged on as an individual called Kerry Lane. So Kerry has responsibilities. He's a finance user, but he also maintains some of the application. He also loads data and checks entities. And what we've built for Kerry and this organization is a simple navigation path using the functionality to be able to set up tasks within FCCS for a standard close process that they would follow. Okay. When the user logs on, they get this entry screen. You've got the taskbar on the buttons on the right hand side. If you were using Close Manager, you would get details here, but for this specific demonstration, we're not going to be using Task Manager. We're showing navigation flows using the navigations. On the top left here, we can also enter any part of the application. Obviously, it depends what access the user has. As Kerry is quite an advanced power user, he has more access than usual, but he can access any of the items he needs to do from here. But for this demonstration, we're going to be using this monthly close navigation flow. So the first thing that Kerry needs to do is to look at the currency exchange rates. These have been loaded in previously, but he's just going to go in and check that they are in correctly. So here we can see we're going to be working on the period of June for FY17 for the scenario actual, and we can see here the rates down the left hand side and across the top. So we have parent members in US dollars and in euros, so we have different exchange rates, and we have them for the average exchange rate for the P&L and the ending exchange rate for the balance sheet. Okay. We also have the ability to override certain rates. For example, for equity items that need to have a standard rate, those functionality is pre-built within the application. So Kerry is now happy with the exchange rates. He's now going to go and check the ownership. So this brings in our entity structure in a hierarchy format, and then we can choose the level of percentage ownership, whether we have control, and based on that, it determines the consolidation methods that are going to be used in the application. So here we can see 100% ownership is going to be a subsidiary, so it's going to be consolidated 100%, whereas something with ownership of only 30% is going to use the equity method of consolidation, and therefore the consolidation percentage is 0. If, for example, we had ownership of 70%, then we would see a minority interest of 30%. This is because the system uses these percentages when it does the consolidation calculations, which are predefined within the application. Okay. So the first thing that Kerry needs to do is to load some data. So at the moment, the data is not there. So he goes into data management. And this is the tool that you use to load data from your ledgers into the application. Okay, so we go to the workbench. And we say import. So the file has already been landed. So we're going to import the file. And what this is doing is importing the ledger data and mapping any of the master data into, for example, the entity, the account, from the source into the target metadata. So here you can see this was our source entity that came in from the ledger, and this is the entity it's going to be loaded to in FCCS. Same with the account and on. And these are the mappings that are set up. So it's validated. We have an orange fish. So it validates the data to make sure that it's going to work. So we click export. And what this is doing is now pushing the data into the system and also running the consolidation in the background so that it can check. It runs a check report to check that the numbers are correct. So instead of you having to go back and forth between different screens, it allows you to do it all from one location. So here you can see the check is orange. That means the data loaded successfully and met the validation criteria in the application. If we then go back and refresh our data here, you can now see that the data is showing in the form. You can also see that there's a little icon next to the number. This is because we can drill back through to the data that's come through from the load. So you can say drill through. So you can see the source information that brought the data in as well. So if there are multiple transactions, it will show multiple transactions here. Okay. The next step is that we check the consolidation status. So the consolidation status shows that it's okay. We loaded June for Portugal. You can see it's been consolidated. If it wasn't consolidated, it would show impacted, which would mean that we needed to run a consolidation to see the numbers. You can see for total Europe, it hasn't been consolidated yet, but at the moment, we're still working on base level data. Okay. The next thing Kerry's been asked to look at is some data for Germany. So they've been asked to review the numbers for Germany. So here we can see the balance sheet that's come in, and we can see the closing from December, the opening for the current month, June, and the total. Okay. And what we can do, we can also open this in Excel. So you can click Actions, Open in Smart View, and you can see here you've now got the form in Excel. And this is fully interactive. So if we changed it to Portugal and refresh, and we could go down and we can see the expense data that came in. Okay. So we can just look at the balance sheet, the cash flow. They seem good. Okay, so the next step is validations. So we check that the balance sheet is balanced. It is balanced. The next one we're going to look at is the eliminations in the data. So when we do the consolidation, here we can see the intercompany transactions elimination, and we have here the two intercompany accounts, the intercompany partner, entity currency, and when we go over, we can see the eliminations that are happening, and we can see we've got a balance of 100,000. So we need to look at where that 100,000 is coming from. So we can click on intercompany reports, and we run the report. And you can see the first one is balanced, but the second one, there's the 100,000 we were looking for. So it's with Spain. Okay. So the next thing, we need to do some adjustments to the data. So here we've got forms that enable you to input adjustments to accounts receivable, to cash, to liabilities. Okay, but the one we were going to look at is the intercompany difference, and for that we're going to use a journal. So here we've got a tab that shows us all the journals, and a journal has been set up to fix the intercompany difference between Germany and Spain. So we click on the journal, we check it's correct, period June, yeah, and we post it. We can add information here if necessary, but for this one we're just going to click post, and we can now see that it's posted. We have multiple tabs here, so we can go through again, so you're not having to click back and forth between your options. At the top here is a path that you're going to follow. So a balance sheet review, but for this one we're going to look at the income statement. So now we don't see any difference in the journal input, but that's because we haven't consolidated. So what we can do, we can right click and say run a consolidation, and we say launch. And this then runs the consolidation for the entity Germany, runs the currency translations, and runs the eliminations. Just takes a few moments. There we go. And now we can see the journal input, and we can see the both sides of the journal. Okay. So what we're looking at here is we have the data source, which is a dimension within the application, so we can see where different data has come from. So managed data is what gets loaded via the data management, which we showed earlier when we loaded in a file. Data input is data that's typed in, and then we can have multiple different data sources, and then we have journals. That all adds to a total. Okay. Next one is cash flow. So again, we can see the cash flow. We can see there's obviously a journal being posted there for 18,000, and we can see the different data sources again. Then we move on to supplemental data. So we've loaded data in from the general ledger, and sometimes that isn't at a detailed enough level. So the balances need to be split out. In previous systems such as HFM, what you'd have to do, you'd have to build that into your chart. So you'd have a very extended chart of accounts or additional custom members, and you would have to then manage that process within your existing process of the month end. So what FCCS comes with is supplemental data, which allows you to create supplemental data input sheets. So you can collect all the information you need, and you can build additional workflow around it that's not linked to the main balance load. So here, for example, we have a breakdown of debt. So we can see by clicking through and saying drill through what the information is that makes up this amount. Okay, so here you can see there's a lot more additional data that's gone in to make up those values. So we've got the debt ID, the debt description, the date, the type, short-term maturity and amount. And here we can see when we click on this, we can see that there's a separate workflow for this. So this has been prepared by Frank Taylor. It's been approved by Casey Brown, and when we say integrate, it means it's been posted. So the numbers are final. Okay. So it's a very powerful tool to enable you to collect additional information without it interfering with the standard close process. And then we can add validations, so we check that the supplemental data that's come in is tying back to the data that was loaded from the ledger. So here we can see that they both do. Okay. Then we move on to reporting. And the first view is one of the dashboards that can be used. So here you can see you can build different tiles with different gauges and graphs, and it's all interactive, so you can click into it and break down the information and get more information out. Okay, so this is a top level view that you can use. What we would normally do is then produce a book of reports to say that the numbers are ready. So here we click on here, and this is producing a financial book. So this collects together a number of different reports and prepares it as a book that you can then send out maybe to key stakeholders or as part of your financial close process. So you have a table of contents. It's a bit small. And here you can see you've got a balance sheet and all the details and everything that you can need to send out in one go. And you can download this. This is a PDF, and you can also choose, you can change different file formats as well. But okay. We can then also add additional tabs in here. So this one is checking what the owner's equity movements are. So you can add any tabs that you want to in here as part of your navigation flow that you would check on a standard process. Okay. So this is your fixed assets. Then we have the income statement by period, allowing you to analyze by period. You can choose the entity, we choose the currency. Current view is periodic. You can do periodic or year to date. It's all dynamic. Okay. Then we have net income by entity, and finally a balance sheet by period. Okay. So that would take us from what we need to do at the start of the process, input currency rates, check the ownership details on a monthly basis, load the management data using data management, the consolidation, consolidate the data, review the data, adjust the data, report on the data. So it's a simple task flow that is very quick to build and allows you quite a powerful process to manage your close process. At the end of it all, you can also do some dashboarding. So not all users will be input users. You can also have users that use it for reporting. So we have this key figures dashboard here. And this again is to just break down some of the information using graphical format that would be, suitable for some. And it's all interactive. So here we've gone down into the quarter to see the breakdown by country. We can see, you can go into further detail if there's details there. That one's at the bottom level. Okay. This one is showing revenue by entity. So you can see, and you've also got your differences, actual versus budget at the bottom here. And then finally, we have profitability and leverage ratios. So again, it's showing you enabling you to compare data against each other without having to go and create graphs in Excel. You create this information within the web. It's then accessible via a PC, an iPad, or whatever, or even on your phone. This information is all available. Okay. So this is a very quick way to build a closed process using the standard features that come with the application. So none of this has to be customized. It's all built out of the standard features in the application. Okay, so that's the end of the demo. We'll move on to any questions and answers. If anybody has any questions, let me click on the messages. Can you show drag and drop in SmartView? Yeah. So so in SmartView, you can also use it as an ad hoc reporting tool. So let me go back into SmartView. So here we had the form that we opened before. What we can do is to say analyze, and this then changes it to be a drag and drop. So let's pick a country with data. So there, so for example, if we wanted to have multiple countries, so we want Germany and Portugal, we can drag that in, and there, it's like a pivot table. So you can choose what you want in the columns, and what you want in the rows. That covers that question. Let me just check. How many dimensions? So if we go into here, so FCCS has a number of dimensions that are available. Most of them are standard dimensions. So the list of dimensions that we have, so account is a standard one, but allows you to select and choose your own accounts if necessary, but it comes with the standard FCCS accounts. Then we have what's called consolidation, which is tracking the data as it consolidates up the hierarchy. We have currency, speaks for itself. Data source, shows you the source of the data. The entity is the hierarchy. From currency is a system one. We don't use that. So intercompany is obviously the intercompany entity. You have your movement, which is your balance sheet. In this application, we have multi-gap switched on. You can choose to have it or not have it. We got period. Then we have a custom dimension. So product here is a custom dimension. You can have up to 4 custom dimensions. Okay, so you can add 4 of your own dimensions in. And then we have scenario, which is the scenario of data, the view, periodic versus year to date, the number of years in the application, another system one, and another system one. Okay, so you can add 4 of your own custom dimensions into the application in order to track your own data. Any other questions? Okay, another question. How do you administer mapping of the source ledger to FCCS? That's a good question. So within data management, we have this item here called data load mapping. And here we can set the mappings that we use. So in this one, we're setting it for account. So we can choose different types of mappings. So here we're saying explicit. So if the amount coming in is 7120, it needs to go to account 6310. You can also choose between. So if values are between two values, then they get mapped. So in is so you can put a list together. So if it's certain within a certain values, then it becomes the target value. Multi-dimension allows you to cross dimensions. So you can say if the entity is X, then and the account is Y, then the target value is Z. So it allows you to do based on whatever is in different dimensions. And then finally, like, you can use wildcards. So for example, if you had 61 star, then anything beginning with 61 would be mapped to that target value. And it's also where you can do scripts. So you can either use SQL or Python scripts. So you can do it based on to do really more advanced mapping. If you have some really complex maps that need to be done, then they'd be done within that in that section using scripts. Okay. Any other questions? How do you create forms? So forms are very easy to create in an application. We go to Navigator and we can go to the Create and Manage option. We say Forms. And here we can choose which folder we want to put it into, but I'll just create the basic one. And we can say Create a Form. And we need to give it a name. We can give it a description. We generally are using what's called a cube console because we're not using rates. We go to the layout, and here we have our rows and our columns, a page dimension, and the point of view. So the point of view is where it's a single member. Page means it will be a drop down at the top of the screen, and then you have your rows and your columns. So for example, if we choose accounts here, we say, and we can use relationship criteria. So we can say the actual member, or we can choose all its children, all its descendants, the bottom level of it. I'll choose descendants inclusive, maybe by period. Again, we can choose a relationship. In this one, I'm going to say the level 0. That means just bring me the months. Okay. You can choose years. Sorry. Some data. You can type it in as well. The entity was Germany. Closing balance. So here on the consolidation, you can see how it rolls up. So the entity amounts come in on entity input, gets consolidated to entity consolidation, and then rolls up to contribution, which then gets passed up to the parent. In this case, we'll select entity input. Okay. You can also choose to add menus. So for example, if you want the ability to be able to consolidate, you can say consolidate, and now we say finish. I forgot to say you can preview here as well. And that just clicks you the form. It's that simple. So they're very quick to put together. Hope that's what you were looking for. Any other questions? Okay. That's it for the session. I'd like to thank you all for attending. If you'd like any more information on what we've covered here today or on FCCS, or you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me. We'll also send out at the end of this session the contact details so that you can contact to us. Okay, I'd like to thank you everybody for joining. And oh, sorry, Anton. Yeah, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I just like to say on behalf of Oracle, thank you for those of you who have attended this morning. Thank you to Ian also from Illumi, really good presentation. And yeah, if you need support from us both, please reach out to us. We're more than happy to support with you. So again, thank you, Ian, for doing what I think was a really great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good day. Bye-bye.